Hello and welcome to Stop Motion Sensei, where we teach you how to bring your bricks to life and become a stop motion master. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to keep your camera still while you're taking photos. Let's get started. One of the main mistakes a lot of beginners make when they're starting off in stop motion is that their camera is shaky. Now, a little side note, you can use some camera shake for artistic purposes. I've done this plenty of times before. Not every single shot in your video has to be static. So a little camera shake can look pretty cool in an action scene or anything you want where you want the viewer to feel like they're really part of the action, this part of the story, and they're inside the story, right? So if you want to use camera shake a little bit on purpose, be my guest, right? It's your creation. You get to make all the creative decisions. That's one of the best parts of stop motion. However, if your camera is shaky all of the time, it might be taking away from the story that you're trying to tell on screen. So let's look at a couple examples of this. Which video looked better to you? My guess is the video where the camera was still and you could focus on what was happening on the screen. Luckily, there are some simple fixes you can use to keep your camera still. The easiest fix for camera shake is using a tripod. A tripod is going to lock down your camera in a specific spot, and then you can leave it there without worrying about it shifting around. For those who don't know, this piece on top here is called the head of the tripod. It will have a threaded screw that goes into the bottom of your camera, or it might have a separate piece that attaches to the camera and then can be locked into the tripod head easily. This is called a quick release plate. If your Legos are on a table or some other kind of raised platform, a tripod is a great option. You can raise and lower your camera to the desired height, and then once you're done taking pictures from a specific angle, you can just move your camera to the next spot. Now, the downside of tripods, especially if your stop motion movie set is on the floor, is that it's gonna be tough to get close to the action, and your camera is always gonna be above your set. This eliminates the variety of camera angles that you can use. So, what can we do to get closer to the action? Depending on the camera that you are using, one great option is to get a tabletop tripod or a mini tripod. A couple good choices are the Oben TT100 tabletop tripod, or if your camera's light, one of the many Joby Gorilla Pods. These are going to be great for keeping your camera still and getting your camera lower and closer to the action so we feel more like we're part of that story, we're inside it. Another option for keeping your camera still is to set your camera directly on the table or the ground and taping it down or using Legos to hold it in place. I've done this a lot when I want to get pictures that are right up next to my movie set or even sitting on part of the movie set that I've built. On a table or a piece of wood, you can use tape to hold it in place if you want to, like we just talked about. A problem that you're probably going to run into with tape is that it's going to make it tougher to use the buttons on your camera. So personally, I prefer to set the camera directly on top of my base plate, and then I can use spare Lego bricks and place them around key parts of the camera to keep my camera from moving from side to side or forward and backward while I'm taking photos. Whether your camera is sitting on a tripod or sitting directly on a table, the final way and the absolute best way to keep your camera from shaking is, drumroll, never touching your camera in the first place. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Steve, I'm not a stop motion Jedi yet, and I don't know how to use the Force. No, I cannot actually do that. What I use is a remote shutter release. These are awesome for stop motion. You plug the receiver in to your camera, and then you're going to use the remote to snap the shutter button for you. So hands-free stop motion is now possible. I mean, you still have to move your minifigures. There are a bunch of remote shutter release options out there. This one was $60. Before you buy one, just make sure that it's compatible with your camera. What I've found works best for me is my camera on a tripod with a remote shutter release and my movie set built up on a table. It lets me be relatively hands-free with the camera and avoid that camera shake that we're talking about, while also allowing me to avoid getting a bunch of photos that are above the action like I would if I was using a tripod and my movie set was on the ground. That's it. Keep your photos still, unless of course you want to toss in a little camera shake for effect. But other than that, guys, those are the main ways to keep your camera still while you're doing stop motion animation. Happy creating.